Alright, let's get started here. It's April 1st. You know what that means? That was the most exciting part of the whole year, other than Christmas. It means that today is the most unmerciful day. You get to play a practical joke on the nearest friend or family member. Quote, which is why they call it historically April Fool's Day. Hence, the person who gets caught by the joke is the You ever seen the look at Garfield comic strip or Beetle and Bailey? There's the sergeant versus the private. You understand. Make sure it's a nice joke though. Don't be, an inconsiderate where the guy has to go to work, all of a sudden water falls down on top of him when he walks into his office. At least you can see his desk while he's walking into the office, okay? Trying to aim for it. Of course, that's what April Fools mean. Something joke-wise that they'll remember you for years. Felix, let me adjust this down here. All right. Where was I? We're gonna turn to the Bible. Continuing onward, I know a lot of you were fretting yesterday. What happened? I could tell you one thing. It's the darnest metal and it's a contraption of a contraption. It just took forever to get it done. You know how some people have errands and they just take forever. And they'll fall asleep afterwards. I just couldn't wait any longer. Waiting on electrical machinery. Now, here I am. Back again, the strongest carry teddy bear, dependable, reliable as ever. I'm going to go to 2 Kings 6 through 8. That's chapter area 6 through 8. And I'm going to go to chapter 7. Do you know why? Because not just faith, hope, love. We gotta have both, all three every morning. Other than my son's car getting wrecked while being parked in front of my yard. Stuff just happens this week, Appreciate the prayers. Imagine someone hitting your car while parked. I thought, their car broke down. Police came over all of a sudden to help them get their car moved away. It wasn't my car. Look outside. They're knocking. It's my car. Got sideswiped. You used to say insurance is fixing it. They're just wondering why it went from the neighbor's yard into the next door neighbor's yard after hitting my car. It wasn't that bad, but I got photos, the works did, made sure of that. It's not that bad, so thank God I have insurance, but the other person didn't have insurance. I'm just glad nobody was hurt in the process. Anyway, well, that's why I said miracles do happen. That's an example I shared with you. Other than miracles I pray for most people, here's another example. Let's see here. Remember where war against Aram famine. After this, Ben-Hadad, king of Aram, mastered his whole army, laid siege to Samaria. Because of the siege, the famine in Samaria was so severe that a donkey's head sold for 80 pieces of silver, and a fourth of calf of dove droppings for 5 pieces of silver. One day, as the king of Israel was walking on the city wall, one woman cried out to him, "Save us, my lord king," he replied. "If the Lord does not save you, where could I find means to save you?" "On the threatening floor, and the winds pressed." Then the king asked her, "What is your trouble?" She replied, "This woman said to me, 'Give up your son, that we may eat him.' Today the tomorrow will eat my son. So we boiled my son and ate him. The next day I said to her, Now give up your son that we may eat him. But she hid her son. When the king heard that the woman's words he tore his garments, and he walking on the wall. He was walking on the wall, and the people saw that he was wearing a sackcloth underneath next to his skin. The king explained, May God do this to me and more, if the head of Elisha, son of Shaphat, stays on him today. Meanwhile, Elisha was sitting to his house in conference with the elders. The king had sent one of his courtiers, but before the messenger reached him, Elisha said to the elders, Do you know that this murderer is sending someone to cut off my head? When the messenger comes, see that you close to the door and hold it fast against him. His master's footsteps echoing behind him. While Elisha was still speaking, the messenger came down to him and said, This evil is from the Lord. Why should I trust in the Lord any longer? Chapter 7. Now this is one that gets to everybody because I'm a dad. I have a son to think about. And that's why my heart goes out to all of those people out around the world because you never know. Elisha replied, Hear the word of the Lord. Thus says the Lord, At this time tomorrow, seah of fine flour will sell for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, in the market of Samaria. But the judge upon whose arm the king leaned against answered the man of God, Even if the Lord were to make winds in heaven, how could this happen? Elisha said, You shall see it with your own eyes, but you shall not eat of it. At the city gate 4 lepers were asking one another, Why should we sit here until we die? If we decided to go into the city, we shall die there. If we decided to go into the city, we shall die there again, for there is famine in the city. If we remain here, we shall die too. So come, let us desert to the camp of the Arams. If they let us live, we live. If they kill us, we die. At twilight, they left for the Arameans. But when they reached the edge of the camp, no one was there. The Lord had caused the army of the Arameans to hear the sound of chariots and horses, the sound of a large army, and they reasoned amongst themselves. The king of Israel has hired the kings of the Hittites, and the king of Egypt to fight us. And then in the twilight they had fled, abandoning their tents, their horses, and their donkeys, the whole camp just as was, and fleeing for their lives. After the lepers reached the edge of the camp, they went first into one tent and ate the drink and took the silver and gold and clothing and they went out and hid them back, and they came into another tent, took things from it, and again went out and hid them. Then they said to one another, We are not doing right. This is a day of good news, and we are keeping silent. If we wait until morning breaks, we will be blamed. So come, let us go and inform the palace. They came and summoned the city gatekeepers. They said, We went in the camp of Arameans, but no one was there. Not a human voice, only the horses and donkeys tethered in the tents just as they went left. The gatekeepers announced this, and it was reported within the palace. After it was night, the king got up. He said to the servants, Let me tell you what the Arameans have done to us. Knowing that we are starving, they have left their camp to hide in the field. They are thinking the Israelites will leave the city and we will take them alive and enter it. One of the servants said, however, suggested, Let some of us take 5 of the horse remaining in the city, and they are just there. The whole throng of Israel had reached its limits, and let us send scouts to investigate. They took 2 chariots and horses, and the king sent them to reconsider the army with the order, Go and find out. They followed the Arameans as far as the Jordan, and the whole route was strewn with garments and other objects that the Arameans had thrown away in their haste. The messengers returned and told the king. The people went out and plundered the camp of the Arameans. Then a seah of fine flour sold for a shekel, and 2 seahs of barley for a shekel, according to the word of the Lord. The word of the Lord the king had put in charge of the gate officers. Upon those whose arm he leaned, the people trampled to death. This was in accordance with the word the man of God spoke to the king. 2 seahs of barley will sell for a shekel, and a seah of fine flour for a shekel. At this time tomorrow in the market of Samaria. The judge had answered the man of God, Even if the Lord were to make windows in heaven, how could this happen? And Elisha replied, "You shall see it with your own eyes, but you shall not eat of it." And that it was what happened to him, for the people trampled him to death at the gate. Continuing on, chapter 8. The Shemaites returned. Elisha said once to the woman whose son had restored his life, "Get ready, leave with your household and live where you can, because the Lord has decreed a 7-year famine which is coming upon the land." The woman get ready and did. The woman get ready as the man of God said, setting out with her household and living in the land of Philistines for 7 years. At the end of the 7 years, the woman returned from the land of the Philistines and went out to the king and appealed for her house, her field. The king was taken with Hazael, the servant of the man of God. "Tell me all the great things that Elisha has done," just as he was telling the king how his master restored a dead person to life. The very woman whose son Elisha had restored to life came to the king, appealing for her house and field. Hazael said, "My lord king, this is the woman, this is that son of hers, whom Elisha restored to life." The king questioned the woman, and she told him her story. With that, the king placed an official at her disposal, saying, "Restore all her prosperity to her, with all that field produced from the day she left the land until now." Having said that, miracles do happen every day. All you have to do is pray. In nomine Patri, Amen. Amen. May God be with you wherever you are in the world. After all, peace is better than war. Most nation leaders agree. It's better to work it out, talk it out, than start something out of sheer ignorance. If there was life on another planet such as Mars that we're still investigating, wanting to go to someday, the Earth too, how does one would say if there was life, how would they look at us? How do you explain they would turn back the world? This, the atom bomb. As I've said before, how do you explain this? Disease. What is war? How do you explain that? Then you think of movies like such examples like The Abyss, where he explains a lot of that stuff. Mankind's capable of so much more if only given the chance. One meaningful example is love, a human emotion. We learn from our own mistakes. As history foretells time and time again, one strives to better oneself in the hearts and souls of many, not just many, on behalf of me and my son. May God be with you. I wish you most greatest prosperity wherever you are. After all, we all learn from your mistakes. You can only fall so far in life before you suddenly rise farther, faster than you ever have before. You dust yourself off. Learn from your past. Don't blame others. Blame yourself for not trying harder. You are your own fiercest enemy. Your own self-doubt again. Your feelings are your friends. Face your fears. Face it with faith, hope, love. Next is military's emotional support. I have a lot to cover here. For Squirrely Army Chief, I hope everybody's watching your health. And then continue on with children's bedtime story. I hope you all learn from this experience today and think about that meaning behind that scripture. And carry it on through the whole week. It'll last you a while. Your grandparents should read that one. Your kids, your children, those who are nearest to you. Even read it to yourself. It'll help, trust me. Such lessons to learn. Much loves. Watch your health. Have a great week. Remember to take life with a grain of sand. Learn from it. You can get up in the morning. That's a blessing. It's a gift. As fragile as life is.